Welcome to the Career Corrective, your career lifeline that gives you laugh lines with Regina, Jenny, and Allie.
We found a Forbes article called How to Increase Self-Awareness in the Workplace. And the reason that we chose this is because we believe that the first step to dealing with nonsense and dealing with stuff that can drive you crazy at work is to increase your self-awareness, because we know in any situation, anyone who's sat through Thanksgiving with a crazy uncle or crazy aunt, you know you can't control others.
Everyone has a crazy uncle.
And you're dreading it, and you know they're going to say,
he's going to eat weird.
But you can't control what they're going to do. But you can control how you're feeling, what you're going through, and how you navigate that for yourself, which I think is just something that will be a theme on here of what we talk about is, you know, sometimes we'll be talking about things that are hard to deal with at work that make you want to quit. Some people can't just up and quit their jobs. Right, Jen?
Right. You can't. Yeah.
It feels like you want to, but it's just
every day. Every day. But you go back for more the next day.
And so we want to help you as much with empowerment and things that you can control, which is always you. In this case, when talking about annoying things at work, self-awareness is something that we think can help. This article is talking about what it is. It's your ability to understand what you're all about. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What do you value? And how your emotions affect your behavior. And so actually there's also, and I won't get into it, but there's a really good book on EQ that I can talk about later, but it does a good job of describing the flow that they're mentioning in this Forbes article, where it's like a seed that grows. It starts with your internal, what's going on with you internally that you may not even realize, and how that whatever is going on with your emotions will a lot of times inform your behavior. And the awareness, to use a sports metaphor, it's a baseball glove where you can go and intercept that ball and catch it before it gets to your behavior, so that you act in a way that is really in line with how you want to behave and what you want your results to be, versus what could happen from having that lack of awareness. In this article, they talk about the first thing is to understand your communication styles. They say self-aware individuals seek to understand their own communication style, including how they listen, speak, and convey info. This is essential for building trust and fostering collaboration. I would say, okay, thanks for saying that, but how do I do that? You know, how do I achieve that goal if it is helpful? Jenny, I want to know from you, do you think that from your own interactions and from your experience, do you think that that one would be helpful in self-awareness, is to understand your communications?
Absolutely. Recently at my work, we had to do a DISC assessment. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was really helpful because, you know, you just go, you answer a series of questions, and then you can figure out what your communication style is. Just take a quick assessment and see what your communication style is and how it relates to others. So
I love that. And a lot of companies do that. Like, the assessment is wonderful because it can also make you feel better. If you are a person who's very direct, let's just say, and you've gotten feedback on that before, you don't do maybe niceties in an email like, hi, happy season's greetings.
Season's greetings, Mark.
You don't do that. You say, okay, if that's the culture here, you know, even though it's not something that I would do naturally because I've seen my results on the assessment, Maybe I could just throw that in there because it's the culture here. And a lot of people would find that annoying. Actually, I'd love to know what our listeners think of that. If your style is more direct and your culture isn't, do you want to know what to put in the email just to make life easier? Or do you want to just be like, no, that's me and I'm just going to keep on keeping on?
Yeah. It's funny because when my team recently did the assessment, I like to be really positive and cheery. So in my emails, so I'll put 10 exclamation marks. That's crazy. And emojis. I like to use
I think
emojis.
11. I think 11 is the number that makes the exclamation points.
Yeah, and I like to spread them throughout. Really giving you some exciting information.
2 here, 2 there. Nothing, no one bombshell here.
What is one? That's lame. I've also noticed, because I guess I have high emotional intelligence, but I've also noticed other people's communication styles as well. And I don't take offense to it. I'm just, okay, maybe they're busy. Maybe they're just, they're doing something and they're just trying to get this email out. So I kind of tailor my emails to each individual that I interact with. But my vibe is always positive.
Right. So you're going to be a little bit more to the point, direct with somebody who is that way, but still maintain your, whatever your DISC assessment said, you are positive. Right. And we'll get into those a different day, but that is a great, so you're saying that you're using your awareness of what the other person puts out there as what they would prefer to receive.
Right. It's still going to be me. You're still going to get smiley emojis.
Yes.
But I am going to give you, if you're more direct and you just want the facts, that's what you're going to get.
Great. No, I love that. And so that's a great way to assess yourself is if you just look back at your emails, because especially with remote working and large companies, a lot of communication is documented because a lot of it would be email. That would be a great way, in my mind, to start by just assessing what you currently are putting out there. Understanding your communication style is one, and then identifying your strengths and weaknesses. And they say the way to do that is through the assessment is 2. So far, the article is a great overview.
Absolutely.
Maybe with a little bit more diving in necessary to understand how to bring those all to life.
Great.
But the third is managing emotions, being able to recognize and manage your own emotions as well as the emotions of others. Mm-hmm. I don't really know how you're expected to manage the emotions of others.
Season's greetings, Frank. Are you okay? I noticed that email. There was a tone. There was a tone that I didn't really like. Is everything okay? Is that what they mean now?
I don't know. But I just feel like when you start your email with like, don't yell at me. Don't be upset.
I can sense you're very angry right now. And maybe you need to pause.
Yeah. I don't really know what they mean there. So I'll give you the rest of what it says. Managing emotions, being able to recognize and manage one's own emotions is crucial to, and also managing the emotions of others. That's the part I don't get.
Why do I have to manage the emotions of others? I can't.
I don't know.
Is that what they mean?
That's what it says.
We're not responsible for that.
As well as oh, you know what? I think it's maybe just hey, Forbes. I think it's just clumsy writing.
What's going on?
Yeah, I think what they mean, even though they wrote it a little clunky, I think they mean recognizing the emotions of others. So that is, in my mind, helpful. If you sense someone is not in the mood for hearing what you might have to say, that would affect your timing and that would affect when and how you approach them. So understanding their emotional state, I think, is more so what they're saying will help you navigate it. That's great, because if you know this in your personal life as well, you always want to think of what's the best time to talk about something, what's the best setting, and maybe there's no optimal time, but I would say, increasing your odds by making sure the person is not in the middle of 10 other things and stuff like that is
Right.
and not already ready to pop a cork is probably the best.
Pop a cork.
Like, hey, we're just taking lunch orders. I ate lunch. Like, you're like, whoa, okay. Sorry to bother you.
Yeesh.
Sheesh.
Yeesh.
And then practicing empathy, self-aware individuals put themselves in the shoes of others to understand their perspective, needs, and feelings. And I think that piggybacks off of the point they were making of recognizing their emotions. So definitely all good practices.
Yes.
I'm not going to go through all of these. This article is giving us a high level of all the ways that you can utilize higher self-awareness, but it's not really telling us how to achieve each. It's a marketing sheet for become more self-aware. I know we didn't get into too much of you being the judge there, but I think we'll save you just going through every single one of those. If you want us to go through those articles more in detail next time, absolutely tell us, because we're here for you. We love you. We love you. We want to make you happy.
And season's greetings.
Yes. With love from us.
With love.
Happy Pumpkin
Our
Day.
home to yours.
Maybe we can dive in a little deeper. Jenny.
Okay. Yeah, let's go.
What we're really talking about here is EQ, emotional intelligence. Self-awareness is the beginning point of emotional intelligence. It helps you take good care of yourself. If something makes you uncomfortable, maybe don't get immersed into those types of discussions. But a lot of times with people, when I'm trying to help them with things like this, is they'll say, I know this shouldn't upset me, or I know this shouldn't.
The shouldn'ts.
Yes, the shoulds and the
The
shouldn'ts.
old shoulds.
It's really natural to say that to yourself.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, it happens to me all the time.
Right. Like, this shouldn't make me mad, or I know this shouldn't bother me.
Right.
But then it does. And that's
That's
cool.
when I call you, and then that's when we talk about it.
Emotional intelligence is really that secret weapon that will make you more conditioned to say things like, no, whatever this scenario is, let's just say,
Okay.
in an example, you're a female and work with all males on your team.
Okay.
And they all love golfing. And not to say that women can't love golf or anything like
Many
that.
of them do.
Yes, but I'm just saying in this one scenario, to make this come to life, that you're the only one who doesn't know golf. You don't like golf. It's not something that is in your world. You get onto your weekly call and it's always, what's your handicap? What you hit this week? I used a 9-iron. I used a pitching wedge. And you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. Nobody cares. I'm just kidding. Then I think it would be funny if you just say something random. Did you guys know that my favorite color is purple?
So clearly Jenny's here to give you that solid advice.
Solid advice. Do you know that I once was run over by a golf cart?
Oh my God. This is when you remind me of Melissa McCarthy. Like, she's so my fave. This is what Melissa McCarthy would do in a movie. You know how they show her outtakes from the movie?
Just saying that? Just random stuff.
That would be... what was that movie she was in with Jason Bateman where she...
Oh my gosh, my favorite. Identity theft?
Yes.
That one?
Where she's in the car and she's just
Oh yeah.
jamming out.
She's not even saying the proper lyrics. The correct. Oh gosh. No, I love her.
That's what she would do on this conference call. They would be 9 iron pitching wedge. And she'd be like, did you know? You assholes, I was run over by a golf cart.
I was in the hospital for a week. So if we could not talk about golf anymore, I would appreciate that. I'm in therapy for it, and this is a trigger for me.
So
I'm sorry. Continue.
oh my god.
I derailed us.
No, but that's the best part. And the derails and the tangents are the best part. But I love the answer and the answer to dealing with this annoying situation is to become the problem.
Yeah, that's it.
You're going to talk pitching wedge. I'm going to talk uncomfortable, weird, personal things.
That's it.
Let's get out my medical record. HIPAA schmippa.
HIPAA schmippa.
I had this in 1985. Do you know how that makes me feel when you talk about golf carts? When I had that toe surgery in 85, I can't walk the golf course.
I can't wear golf shoes.
I can't even if I wanted to.
No.
The emotional intelligence it helps you do the opposite of what we're joking about here. It'll make you more aware, capable. So it would go like this. I'll be I'll be your insights. You give me a little snippet of what they would say, and then I'll be the internal emotional intelligence.
Okay. Oh man, Frank and Pete, do you guys remember that? Do you remember we had the best day? And I don't know.
Yeah, so that's perfect. So because you even gave them like the voice of I'm going to take over this call and say stuff.
Right. And then they're just talking about themselves.
The other things that can compound it are you want to get the call over with because you want to get back to work because you have work to do. You're happy to chit chat briefly, but it's going on longer. So now you can feel yourself getting frustrated. The emotional intelligence piece would be start with the awareness of that, and your insides would be going something like this. Okay, this is very frustrating, but why am I here? I'm here because I have a beautiful life, and this job fuels the beautiful life. Nobody has it perfectly at work. I'm just going to breathe. And at my first opportunity, I will redirect back into what we're talking about, maybe get them to kick off the meeting and get things done. It would be something polite where you find an opportunity or an opening to be like, oh, I'm so glad you guys had such a nice weekend. It was beautiful weather. That reminds me, I'd love to dive into a few things I wanted to tell you about such and so client. Like you just use it.
Ooh, that's really good.
If you don't want to be that polite, I completely understand because the frustration is real. So you could just say something more directive. Oh, fantastic, you guys. I'd love to get started. Frank, I wanted to know about such and so client. You want to pivot over to whatever it is, get the wrap up going, bridge over, and then dive in. And
gently guide them.
Yes. And it might take a few tries, but it's your time as well. I've literally had this happen to me before.
You have?
Yes, not talking about golf, but people who are off on tangents and wanting to elongate meetings. And so I've done things like this, and then it becomes like, oh, you're always so serious. Yes, anyway. These are the situations that are tough to navigate. You may get pushback, but you have to decide. If somebody says, oh, you're always so serious, is that better? Or is sitting there and having it go a half an hour longer every week and suffering better? And then you can be the judge on that, which way you want to go with it. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was very good.
Thanks, Jen.
I think it's such a great tool, and I really like it because you can practice using it in all areas of your life, right? Yes. But I think we should kind of focus on how it's been in the workplace.
Absolutely. So this is EQ, emotional intelligence, has been in leadership books forever. Dale Carnegie wrote How to Win Friends and Influence People. And that came out in the 1930s.
It
so
did?
yeah, so
They
it's
were
20.
talking about this in the 30s?
That's interesting that you say though. So they didn't, the term and the overtness of saying the word emotional, that was not used because at that time that would have been
I was there. Nobody was saying it.
Remember in your 1930s conference calls? You didn't hear anything about it?
No. We were all smoking cigars and having a scotch. We weren't doing that.
Coming to you live from the set of Mad Men. Oh my God.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's the best. All of the themes that Dale Carnegie wrote about, how to win friends and influence people. I mean, right there in the title, all of his trainings and all of his work that he's done. And it's just amazing that the leadership style that he's talked about, emotional intelligence is the theme throughout his work. Dale Carnegie was talking about is if you want to be successful in business, you have to win friends and influence people, because without people and making those deals come to life, then you're not going to be successful. It makes companies more successful because you're going to get hired more readily. How to communicate with people in that interview, making those connections. It's also going to get you promoted more, so more money, more success. Right. And then if you're having that success and it's through emotional intelligence, then you're going to make your companies more profitable. Customers are going to want to work with you more. You're going to have more loyalty from your customers, and that all leads back to revenue. And so it's really all about EY does a lot of these surveys and studies and gathers data because they want to utilize that for their clients around the world. And in a recent survey they did, 92% of their people said that EQ and the way the culture is has an impact on whether or not they would stay at a company. And over 50% of them said that they feel that their current company's efforts to be highly empathetic, which is a main component of EQ, is dishonest. So they don't see that follow through and that genuineness from leadership. The data shows that 100% of people feel they are self-aware, but Harvard Business Review found that only 10 to 15% of people studied fit the criteria. So
only 10 to 15%?
Yes. I don't want to shove a bunch of information, but I do think it is important to give context. There's some great data and stats to give perspective of this is real. This is important. Yeah. This isn't just fluffy pie in the sky, oh, everybody should have their emotions.
Right. Let's hold hands.
Do you want to feel better at work? Do you want to make more money? And do you want to navigate things in a way that makes you successful? And to me, most importantly, have more satisfaction in your career, because you're going to feel better if you learn all about this stuff.
Right. No, I just find it interesting though, because I've had encounters, with people who are in higher roles, and I'm like, how did they get here? How did they make that happen? Because they have no people skills and no self-awareness.
I'm so glad you brought that up. And I was just thinking that the juxtaposition of 10 to 15% of the people thinking they have strong self-awareness and high EQ compared to so what's happening with that 85 to 90%? First is there's so much more to the game of how to get promoted. Who do you know? Who came before you? Right. What the situation the company was in. However, a lot of people know how to mimic and manage up. So when you're dealing with that person who doesn't have the high EQ, you watch them in a situation where they're talking to somebody above them, watch their demeanor change, watch their communication style change. And then I'm not a statistician on every single different scenario, but also you can see in companies where the leadership doesn't have high EQ, that's who they're going to
That's
promote.
right.
That's the
right.
culture there. And so there's a whole mixture of things going on. This is just to say that if you want to do well in your career and have other people not say things like you're saying about these leaders to say you're a pleasure to work with, then EQ is the way to get there. So thank you for bringing that up. We hope you're enjoying this conversation. This actually comes from our very first episode. So if you like this topic, go back and give that one a listen for more details and more nonsense. It's called Dealing with Workplace Challenges and Emotional Intelligence. Thank you for hanging out with us. Can't wait to hang out with you again soon.
Absolutely.
Okay. Bye.